Hey guys, what's up? So we have a new update on Advanced Server featuring Moskov, Masha, and Wanwan. First is Moskov's Revamp where he looks more tired. Poor guy. Aside from his new model, the only thing that changed is his ultimate. A shadow will appear behind the first hero that it hits. Press the ultimate again and you can teleport to that shadow. You can also aim it for an extra dash like this. It can only work if you hit an enemy hero. Jungle and minions will not give you any shadows. This is perfect if you want to change lanes or if the enemy doesn't die from your ultimate. It's gonna be fun chasing those low HP targets. Next is the experimental adjustment on Masha. Losing her first HP bar will now grant base hybrid defense, healing received, and resilience. Meanwhile, losing the second HP bar will give more base hybrid defense, healing received, and full crowd control immunity. And you can see it from her color. Here are some tests to show her CC immunity. This looks good, right? However, there are some big changes to her passive skill. Number 1 is that they removed her ability to gain attack speed when losing HP. That means she's gonna be slow like this even on her last HP bar. They also removed the movement speed boost. Another effect is that she cannot gain defense from items and emblems. It's a waste of resources if you buy a defense item because it doesn't do anything. Her source of defense can only come from base stats and when she loses an HP bar. Now we move on to her first skill, and this is where she can get attack speed. This skill is now a one-time cast, which means it deactivates automatically after 4 seconds. Using the skill will consume 25% of her HP, and it will give extra movement and attack speed. Each basic attack will deal damage based on the enemy's maximum HP. There's also a heal effect for each attack. So this is like the old version, but it now has a timer and the damage is based on the enemy's HP. It also has a feature that lowers its cooldown when attacking a hero or jungle creep. Her new second skill will now deal damage in a direction while slowing them for 2 seconds. 10% of her HP is consumed when using the skill. The disarm effect is removed, but it was placed on her new ultimate. Her ultimate is like before, but it now has a disarm effect for 2 seconds. And the damage is now based on the target's current HP, which is pretty good when fighting tanky enemies. The old feature where she gains CC immunity and damage reduction is removed. So with this new Masha, you can't build defense items except for the HP ones, like Scar Guardian Helmet or Queen's Wings. Attack speed is now on her first skill and she gains CC immunity on her last HP bar. I think the last bar is more like an escape tool now. Previously, enemies will think twice before engaging Masha with her last HP because of her attack speed and high lifesteal. But what I like about this new Masha is that her damage is now based on the enemy's HP. On the old version, it was based on Masha's extra HP. Anyway, it's still labeled as experimental, so more tweaks are coming soon. Next is the experimental adjustments on Dyrroth. His ultimate can no longer be cancelled just like this. However, it's not working yet. Maybe we'll see it next week. Another change is his passive skill, where it no longer needs 50% rage bar. All you need are 2 basic attacks or skill casts to enhance his next basic attack. Technically, it's the same as before, but now skills can add 1 bar. And they're also removing the ability to enhance his other skills. To balance, they will adjust his skill 1 and 2. Stronger slow effect on his skill 1 but with a shorter duration, from 1.5 to 1 second. Skill 2 now has a higher defense reduction at late game, which can reach 75%. Slow is weaker, but the duration is now at 2 seconds. That means it's harder to escape once he uses his second skill on you. So far, this is looking good for Dyrroth, especially his late game part. Next is the experimental adjustment on Wanwan. The developer said there are just too many mechanics around Wanwan, making it hard to balance her in professional and rank matches. Because of that, they will remove the Purify effect on her second skill. This means you can no longer remove crowd control effects. In exchange, she can now knock back nearby enemies just like this. And the range is pretty big. Another adjustment is her ultimate. They added an additional 30 points of base damage to all levels. So in exchange for damage, she lost her ability to remove CC effects. And they replaced it with a knockback effect. What can you say Wanwan means? Is it a nerf or a buff? Next is the revamped Lolita. If her ultimate is interrupted, it will automatically activate. This means you can no longer stop her with crowd control effects. The damage and stun duration is based on the channeling time when she is interrupted. This is a big buff if you ask me. It guarantees that your ultimate will always land regardless of the CC they have. Gone are the days when we had to wait for 50 seconds because it got cancelled too easily. Next is the revert on Fanny's nerf. They're putting back some of the removed damage last week. Compared to official server, it's still a nerf, but it's not as bad as before. Another good news is the adjustment on freeze, petrify, and transform. They're cancelling the ability to interrupt blink or dash skills that they made last week. That means Fanny can't be stopped mid-air with those CC effects. So nothing much has changed to Fanny except for a slight damage decrease on her first skill. Next is the buff on new Zhong. The developer said he's weak when going against popular experienced laners in the early game, so they'll reduce the cooldown of his second skill. It's now 11 seconds at all levels. And they're increasing the edge damage of his first skill from 250 to 300% to lower cooldown and higher damage for his skills. Next is the buff on Akai. They increase the HP-based damage and shield of his passive skill by 1%. Second skill will also have a stronger slow effect and shorter cooldown. I wonder why he suddenly received a buff. Next is the buff on Barats. The mana cost on his first and second skill are lowered. The developer said it's a way to increase his sustain without the need of a purple buff. Experienced lane Barats. Anyone? Next is the buff on Baxia. The stun duration on his first skill is now longer, from 1 to 1.5 seconds. But in exchange, they slightly increase the cooldown of the skill. Sounds fair, right? A 1.5 second stun is pretty long during team fights. Next is the buff on Julian. His passive skill will have a slightly shorter cooldown. That's -1 to 0.5 seconds. So more chances to activate his combo. Next is the buff on Minotaur. His second skill heal will now scale with magic power. The developers are doing this so that he can properly use the new item, Flask of the Oasis. No stats are wasted, which is good. Next is the nerf on Ixia. The developer said she's dealing too much damage, so they had to tone it down. They removed the feature on her ultimate where her passive can deal higher damage. Attack speed boost is also lowered in the early game, but in exchange, the ultimate will have a shorter cooldown at late game. I was right though, the damage was pretty high last time. Too bad the developers noticed it. Next is the nerf on Paquito. They added 0.5 seconds of cooldown on his second skill. Meanwhile, his first skill will have a fixed cooldown of 7 seconds at all levels. The developer said it's a way to reduce his mobility. Next is the nerf on Bruno. The developer said he's too strong with the revamped critical items, so they're nerfing his early and mid-game damage. Lower base damage to his first skill. That's -25 to 50 points. Use him while you can, guys. Next are more adjustments on Alucard. They lowered his enhanced basic attack as well as the critical boost on his passive skill. Too many adjustments is happening on Alucard right now. I think we need to test him to see the effect. Last one is the new item, Flask of the Oasis. The carrier can now be affected by its unique passive. As you can see, I received a shield. But this won't work on skills that's only for yourself. Example is Bane's heal. The shield will not activate because he can only heal himself. It will only work on skills that can heal and give shield to you and your teammates. And if you're wondering, Esmeralda can't use it because she can't give shield to her allies. And that's it for our weekly advanced server update. What do you think of Masha's adjustments? Do you like the new Moskov? Share your thoughts in the comment section. That's all for this video. Stay safe and thank you for watching.